I want to talk about Janice a few minutes. I told her all week long I was going to be talking about her a little bit. It ain't much, but I hope it'll tie in my lesson. I wear glasses. I can't hear good. And I'll tell Janice, what did I tell you, baby? I asked you to be my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see real good. And little print, small things, I depend on her to be my eyes. A lot of times she'll read, I'll get a bottle out of the medicine cabinet or something, and that small letters. It's impossible for me to see them without glasses. And I might not have my glasses with me, and I'll holler, Janice, come borrow your eyes a minute. And she'll come running, and she'll read for me. I mean, it's one thing after another. Janice, what did he say on TV? And I have it halfway turned up. She'll say, it said so, you heard him? I said, no, I didn't hear him, and I don't. So we depend on one another. And I do things that, she can't do. I'll help her. Like, we ran up to Walmart and was getting some different things. Will you reach up there and get that for me? She's short. She can't reach. Well, she's depending on me to get that for her because she can't reach it. So we all depend on one another at one time or another. And that's basically what I want to look at, is some different thoughts about relying on God, or having confidence in God, or trusting in God, or depending on God. Some people say that I'm hard-headed. I'm independent. Is that true?
Sometimes.
Sometimes I am. Well, sometimes you're independent. But what I want to look at is being dependent, and that's what it means there, talking about dependent. Can we trust in a man? You can trust in a man so far. But the Bible tells us over in Jeremiah 17:5, cursed be the man that trusteth in a man. So we can't fully trust a man, can we? Over in Psalm 27 it says, some trust in chariots and some in horses. But we remember the name of the Lord. They have no dependence. Our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, our Marines, our law enforcement, you can depend on them to a certain extent. But we got a God now that you can depend upon. You can. We got the best missiles in the world, best submarines, nuclear subs in the world. But all that can fail you in a matter of seconds. So we don't need to depend on the world. The world will destroy you. So we need to rely and depend on God for our protection. God is your protector. God is a lot of different things we're going to look at, but God is our protector. How does He protect us? Anybody?
He protects us every day. Got a hedge round about us, and the devil could destroy us at any time if the Lord didn't have a hedge round about us.
The devil's out to destroy every one of us. But I thought about, whenever I got thinking about protection, it mentioned about don't trust in chariots or horses. Back in the old days, that's the way they went to war back in two. And don't trust in the horses and all that. Well, comes right on up to us. We can't, like I said, trust in our Army, maybe not to 100%, because we will fall and fail. There's things that we do, so they'll fail you. I thought about whenever we was talking about protection there and all them, about I just mentioned, I got to thinking about the armor of God. He gives us an armor. Now Saul gave David the armor, but what happened to David's armor? The one that slung the rock and hit the giant.
Took Saul's armor off and gave it back to Saul.
He put that thing
armor
on.
of God.
All right, he put it on, didn't he? And he complied to put it on. They kept saying, well, if you're crazy enough really to go out there on this big old giant and you're on your own, well, he wasn't on his own. He had not proved to God his faithfulness by killing the lion and the bear to start with. And then he comes up there where the battle is, and he sees this big giant. You know the story well. And nobody wanted to go there. They were all scared, weren't they? But David had something better than any of those that was in the army of Israel at all. They can trust in the horses, they can trust in all that, but they're going to fail. And David had an armor that does not fall. Turn to Ephesians chapter 6. That pretty well explains what I'm trying to say. This armor will not. We can depend on this armor. It's the armor of our God. Ephesians 6:10. Chris, would you start with verse 10 and just read down? Think about depending on God.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand.
I just thought about there. Put on how much?
The whole.
Not part, but whole. And to my understanding, they didn't have no armor on the backside, so I don't know where I heard that or read it or what, but it makes sense. They didn't have no armor. In other words, they were going to stand firm regardless of what was in front of them. The enemy was in front of them. They didn't need no armor on the backside because they were going to be standing toward them. And if they're running, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. But the main point is it's an armor, it's a spiritual armor of God. Now, our flesh can deteriorate, but this armor here is a spiritual armor, and it's going to be steadfast and firm. So we can trust God's armor, that for protection, as David did. And we all know he went and killed the giant and all that. We go through a lot of trials and tribulations and problems in this life. Who can you depend on?
God.
God. Sister Christy, you depend on God? Get a good report? Now, we can trust the doctors pretty well, but they're getting their know-how and information and all that from above. So we need to trust God, rely on Him. He tells us that He doesn't change. Now, we change from time to time. Our ways of doing things, we change from one year to the next. And you can't put a lot of confidence in what man does from year to year. But you can trust God, and He tells us over in John 14:18, I will not leave you comfortless. In other words, He's going to help us. He's going to be with us. And comfortless means peaceful. He says, peace I'll leave with you. Remember He told the disciples, peace I'll leave with you. And that's comforting to know that we can rely on peace from God. Whenever I've had loved ones to die, mom and daddy, and others in my family, God gave me a peace. He gave me a peace that says, peace that passes all understanding. So He gives us a peace that we can fully rely on God. You remember me using that one time about the frog? Fully, F stands for fully, R, rely, O, on, and G, God. Fully rely or depend on our God. Jesus says, I don't change. Malachi 3:6, I am the Lord and I change not. Therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. He says over in Hebrews 13:8, 6 through 8, really you need to read 6 through 8, but Hebrews 13:6 through 8, he says, I am the same today, I'm the same yesterday, and forevermore. That is the God we are serving, needs to be served. You know, we come apart from God sometimes. I know I do. My mind is not on God all the time. Turn to John chapter 15. Brother David, read 1 through 5. I want you to think about part of this verse and it teaches about relying on God or putting our confidence in God.
15.
Yeah, 15th chapter. John 15th chapter 1 through 5.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, shall bring forth much fruit, and without me he can do nothing.
You notice that part? It says, without me, you can do what? I am the vine. Jesus says, I am the vine, and you're the branches. And you are attached to the vine. But you can be apart from the vine, without me, or apart from me, you can do nothing. Hold your breath 5 minutes. Can anybody do it?
I can't.
You can't hold your breath. I can't hold mine one, but I'm just using this for illustration that we depend on God for even your breath that you breathe. The first breath that Jesus, God, when God created man, he put the breath of life in man. Every one of us. We've been breathing ever since. He hadn't ever stopped for 5 minutes. Well, why? You can't. God is the one that gave you the first breath, and guess who's going to give you the last one? God. Without him, you can do nothing. It says, apart from me, we need to be firm with that. Everything that God made, the sun, the moon, the stars, and creation, is because he put us as appendix to. I looked at the moon the other night. Was it last night? Last night I was looking at that pretty moon. And I thought about God. And then I thought about Colossians 1:17. Read that. Somebody read that, dude. Everything that consists of God, he's created it. I want you to listen to this. Colossians 1:17.
I got it.
Good?
Colossians 1:17, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist.
All things consist. Everything. We depend on God. Everything else man can do. You trust in man all you want to, but he'll let you down eventually. But God will not let you down. Everything that he did, he created and protected us, and all these things we mentioned, all this consists of God and his taking care of his people. So we can rely on God. Well, we'll turn to John chapter 15, if you would. Further along here, we're running a little late this morning. John chapter 15. Well, let's go to John chapter 5 first. It says after, this is whenever the man had palsy and he couldn't do nothing, he was an infant man. In verse 1, chapter 5 of John, after this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool which is called in Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In this he lay a great multitude of impotent folk, blind, halt, heirs, waiting on moving of the water. For an angel went down to a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Wherever the first, after the troubling of water, stepped in,
Was made whole of whatsoever disease.
He was made whole. The men, they saw him. They seen the blind people there. They seen the different ones that were sick of palsy and all these things. And these impotent men. None of them would help him, would it? But Jesus, he depended on Jesus through the faith that he had in Jesus. He said, no man is going to help me. And Jesus told him, arise and walk. Isn't that wonderful to know that you can depend on God as a healer? Man can go so far in his medicine and all these wonderful things that we have today to help us, but God is the one that actually gives them the information to be able to make a pill or whatever to do something like radiation pills or whatever. You trust in those radiation pills without God? No. Man can't do nothing unless God allows him to. And God does all that consists of him. Who else in God's Word? Let's go to one more closing. Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 20. We mentioned a while ago about having protection. I want to put it in with this, and this is exactly what it says, but this man here in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 is teaching a valuable lesson that what we need to be doing, and let's see where we're going to start. This is when Moab was coming against Jehoshaphat in war. They were fixing a war with Jehoshaphat. And they all feared that they were going to be killed. And they realized and recognized our army will not even compete with their army. They're going to kill us all. And this man did what we're supposed to be doing. Look at verse 3. It says, and Jehoshaphat feared, he was scared, and set himself to seek the Lord. Is that important to do that? Seek the Lord? Jehoshaphat feared, and he realized, I can't win this war by myself or with the little army I got. He feared to seek the Lord and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. And Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of the Lord. They needed help, didn't they? They were fixing to die because their army wasn't nearly sophisticated as his. And they began to get together and have a feast, a fast, and started praying to God. And that's a very important prayer. Judah gathered themselves together to ask help of the Lord. Even out of the cities of Judah they came to seek the Lord. And Jehoshaphat stood in the congregation of Judah and Jerusalem, and in the house of the Lord, and became a new court. Later on it says, God's going to win that battle. I ain't going to go any further for that, but he asked help of the Lord, and he depended on God, and God took care of the problem. He said, this battle is not yours. It's mine. I'll take care of it. And he did. So we can depend, rely on God, and don't come apart from God, because everything that we consist of, we need to look into it. I pray the Lord bless us to see. There's several more you can go to, sheep and all them went astray and they depended on the shepherd and all, but I'm not going to go to those. But I just want us to think, the main point I want to think about is we can depend and rely on God and put confidence in God and put our trust in God and not lean to our own understanding but God. Anybody got that?
If we look back in history, all the great wars that we have fought, we should not have won. When we fought against Great Britain for our independence, it was just one or two decisions that made the difference in the whole war. And that's the hand of God. Yeah. And we see the children of Israel go against small countries like Ai. And Ai put them on the run, killed 6,000. Yeah. And Korea could come against America and destroy America. Even though we have the greatest weapons available to man. Because it's all in the hand of God. And it all has to do with God's people being obedient to Him, serving Him. And I fear that America's not there anymore. If we watch any news at all, we see that America's falling quickly. They begin to ask some of these Democratic presidential candidates about if a church will not marry a gay couple, should they receive any tax exemption from the government? And all that I heard speak out said, no, it should be taken away from them. So that's in process. That's coming. We've talked about that for years. But it's going to happen sooner than later. And if any of those Democrats go in, that's one thing that'll happen. And it's all in an effort to quiet down God's people and cause them not to stand where the Bible has told us, where God's told us to stand. And the weaker our nation becomes, the more apt we are to be defeated. Just a point of interest, and I never thought about it, early in the lesson you were talking about, David going to battle with Goliath, and he put on Saul's armor, and it was
too big, too heavy, yeah.
I never thought about this before. If you remember Saul, when God chose Saul, he was a head taller than everybody else.
Made him first king.
But he was a big man. He was almost a giant to David. I picture David about the size of Malachi, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Just a young, small guy. He wasn't out there showing his power. He was to show the power of God, which he did. But even the armor he put on from Saul was like putting on a giant's armor.
Exactly.
That never dawned on me until
there was I thought about it. There was an armor bearer. You know what an armor bearer is? Armor bearer is the one that goes before whoever he starts off the battle. And this giant had an armor bearer. Well, David had to go through the armor bearer and the giant, but the Bible tells us that he just flung the rock and hit him in the head. But he had an armor bearer. I'm sure that armor bearer wasn't standing out there like this while David was fixing to sling a rock to who he was supposed to protect. You follow me? So we got armor bearers in front of us, or we also, I consider our armor bearer as angels. We have angels around us. So those are some thoughts I have about dependence. We need to depend upon God and rely on Him and Him alone.
Amen.
You just